In this video, I will be showing you lifted increases. Lifted increases are stitches that are lifted from stitches below. They are not worked into the bars in between stitches. They are worked out of stitches in the row below. Because of this, there is a right leaning and a left leaning lifted increase. To work a right leaning lifted increase, and I'm working in stockinette stitch fabric, you work up to the increase location, and then the next stitch on the left needle, you look for the stitch below, and you will, from behind, catch the right leg of that stitch and place it on the left hand needle. And I like to use my finger to make sure there's a gap there between the stitch and the leg that I just lifted. And now I need to knit into just that leg. It can help to just work on the tips of your needles and not stretch these stitches out too much. And then you knit the stitch. And so there can sometimes be a hole there, so that's why you need to be careful to work on the tips of your needles and to not stretch these stitches out too much, especially this base stitch. So again, from behind, I'm catching the right leg of the stitch below and placing it up on the needle, trying to not stretch it out. I'm knitting it, and then I am knitting the base stitch. And that is a right leaning lifted. To work a left leaning lifted increase, this one is worked on the stitch on the right needle, the stitch you just worked. So I just worked this stitch, and I need to look for, because I've worked it, there's a loop on this right hand needle. This was the loop that was on the left hand needle. So that's not what I need to lift. I need to lift the loop below. So we're looking not this stitch, not this stitch, but this stitch. And you can kind of, it needs to be the stitch that is the strand that is coming from the left hand needle, and it's coming out of this stitch. So this is the stitch that's the base, if that makes sense. So I use my left hand needle to get the left leg from behind of that stitch, and then I will knit into it. And again, don't work on the tips of your needles so that you don't stretch that stitch out too much. So that is the left leaning. Let me show you that again. So not the stitch on the right hand needle and not this stitch, but this stitch right here. It's the leg that's kind of anchoring this bar here. So if I follow the bar and go and catch that leg, that is the right leg. It's the left leg of the correct stitch, like so. I will work a couple rows so you can see what those look like. So now you can see the right leaning lifted increase. You get this slant right here, leaning to the right, because you had pulled the right leg of that stitch up to work your increase. So it kind of slants that leg to the right. And then the left leaning, this one's a little loose, so it looks not quite as neat as it could, but there is a left lean right here. This one's a little bit better. There's a left lean where that stitch was pulled up to make a new stitch. So those are the right and the left leaning lifted increases. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.